Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because at 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you.
The banquet hall of Zollner Prime was a marvel of alien craftsmanship. Transparent walls made of crystalline alloys revealed a breathtaking view of the gas giant swirling storms, and floating orbs of light cast an ethereal glow across the gathering. Delegates from across the galaxy filled the room, their diverse forms reflecting the vast array of life in the interstellar concord. Tentacles, fur, scales, and shimmering exoskeletons mingled in a cacophony of languages, all unified under the banner of galactic peace. At the center of the hall stood the human delegation, led by Ambassador Eric Kane, a tall man with a confident smile and an aura of approachable authority. Humanity was the newest member of the Concord, and while their technological advancements had earned respect, many species still viewed them with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Tonight was humanity's chance to solidify their standing on the galactic stage. Eric was aware of the stakes. Dressed in formal attire, he moved through the crowd with practiced ease, engaging in polite conversation and charming delegates with stories of Earth's rich culture. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. At the head of the room, Overseer Krylax, the Trosian host, observed the proceedings from a raised platform. The Traxians, an insectoid species with sleek metallic exoskeletons and multifaceted eyes, were renowned for their culinary artistry and precision. Their contribution to the Concord had always been their diplomatic neutrality and unmatched ability to host grand events. Krylax raised his segmented arm, signaling for silence. The room hushed as the Overseer's amplified voice filled the space. "Friends and allies of the interstellar Concord," Krylax began, his tone smooth but commanding, "tonight we celebrate our unity and the bonds we have forged. We honor the contributions of all species, new and old." His gaze lingered briefly on the human delegation, a glint of something unreadable in his multifaceted eyes. "To mark this occasion," Krylax continued, "we present Zolaris Nectar, the pride of our world. A wine so rare and exquisite that only the most momentous events merit its unveiling." Servers floated through the room, carrying trays of crystalline goblets filled with a shimmering purple liquid. Each delegate received a glass, and the humans, eager to participate, accepted theirs with smiles. Eric raised his glass, glancing at his team. "Here's to making a lasting impression," he said, his tone half joking but underpinned by genuine optimism. Krylax lifted his own goblet, signaling the toast. "To unity, understanding, and the bright future of the Concord." The room echoed the toast as every delegate sipped the Zolaris nectar. The wine was cool and smooth, with a complex flavor that lingered on the tongue. Eric tilted his head, savoring the drink. "This is incredible," he said to Krylax, who had approached with an air of measured politeness. "It has an elegance to it, almost reminds me of some of Earth's finest vintages." Krylax's mandibles twitched in what might have been an attempt at a smile. "I am pleased it suits your palate," he said, his tone guarded. Unbeknownst to Eric and the other humans, the wine had been poisoned. The Traxians had orchestrated the banquet with one purpose: to expose humanity's weakness. Since joining the Concord, humans had proven adaptable, resourceful, and charismatic. While some species admired these traits, others, like the Traxians, viewed them as a growing threat to the balance of power. The Zolaris nectar contained a toxin specifically engineered to incapacitate humans. Non-lethal to most species, the poison was intended to leave the humans visibly weak and humiliated, shattering their image of resilience and strength. Krylax watched closely, expecting the symptoms to appear quickly: sweating, dizziness, nausea. But as the moments passed, the humans seemed unaffected. Worse, they appeared to be enjoying the wine. Eric raised his glass for another sip, smiling. "You've truly outdone yourselves, Overseer. This nectar is a masterpiece." The other humans nodded in agreement, their laughter and conversation growing livelier with each sip. Eric's second-in-command, Dr. Elena Vasquez, even poured herself a second glass. Krylax's antennae twitched in confusion. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The humans were meant to falter, to become objects of ridicule. Instead, they were thriving. A ripple of unease spread through the Trosian staff. One of Krylax's advisors leaned in, his voice low. "Overseer, the toxin should have taken effect by now. Then why are they still standing?" Krylax hissed. The advisor hesitated. Perhaps their physiology is more resistant than anticipated. We did account for their ethanol consumption, but..." Enough. Krylax snapped, though his voice remained low. His multifaceted eyes refocused on Eric, who was now regaling a group of delegates with an animated story about Earth's exploration of its oceans. The overseer felt a pang of unease. Had the Traxians underestimated humanity's resilience? As the evening progressed, Eric noticed Krylax's lingering gaze and approached him, glass in hand. "Overseer," Eric said warmly, "I must commend you. This nectar is unlike anything I've ever tasted. Its complexity is remarkable." Krylax's mandibles clicked faintly. "You honor us, Ambassador. It is rare that a new species appreciates its subtleties." Eric chuckled. "Well, humans have a long history of crafting and enjoying strong beverages. Wine, whiskey, vodka, you name it, we've probably made it. In fact, some of our spirits are so strong they're considered dangerous by Earth's own standards." Krylax blinked rapidly. "Dangerous?" "Oh, absolutely," Eric said with a grin. "We even have competitions to see who can drink the most without collapsing. It's a bit of a tradition, really." Krylax's antennae drooped imperceptibly as he processed the revelation. What was meant to expose humanity's fragility had instead showcased their resilience. As Eric raised his glass once more, his voice rang out across the hall. "To the Traxians, for their hospitality and their unparalleled craftsmanship." The room erupted in cheers, with every delegate, including the humans, drinking deeply. Krylax forced a smile, his mind racing. The humans weren't fragile. They were formidable. And the Traxians had made a grave miscalculation. The Tracian command chamber hummed with nervous energy. Overseer Krylax paced in a tight circle, his segmented limbs clicking against the crystalline floor. Around him, his advisors and scientists huddled near a holodisplay showing a live feed of the banquet hall. The humans were thriving. Ambassador Eric Kane stood at the center of a growing crowd, his gestures animated, his laughter infectious. His delegation mirrored his energy, drinking Zolaris nectar with gusto, their conversations lively. Krylax's antennae twitched with frustration. "Explain this failure," he demanded, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the scientist who had engineered the toxin. The pale, spindly Tracien, biochemist Rilix, hesitated before stepping forward. "Overseer, the compound was specifically designed for human biology. Based on our research, it should have induced immediate symptoms: weakness, dizziness, nausea. Instead, Krylax interrupted, they are consuming it as though it were a delicacy." Rilix's mandibles clattered nervously. "It is possible, Overseer, that we underestimated their tolerance. Humans appear to have an unusually high capacity for processing ethanol and similar compounds. Historical records suggest they consume highly concentrated intoxicants recreationally. Their bodies may interpret the toxin as a mild stimulant." Krylax froze, his antennae stiffening. "A stimulant?" "Yes, Overseer. It is likely enhancing their energy and confidence rather than weakening them." The revelation struck Krylax like a blow. The entire plot had hinged on humiliating humanity in front of the Concord delegates, proving them to be fragile and unworthy of their rising influence. Instead, the humans were thriving, commanding the attention of the room and earning admiration. "We cannot allow this to continue," Krylax hissed, his voice low but venomous. "Their resilience will be seen as a strength. The Concord may rally behind them." In the banquet hall, the humans had become the center of attention. Eric's natural charisma, combined with the unexpected effects of the Zolaris nectar, had emboldened his delegation. The once cautious newcomers now dominated conversations, laughing and trading stories with delegates from across the galaxy. Eric was in his element. His storytelling skills, honed from years of diplomatic engagements, captivated the audience. He regaled them with tales of Earth's achievements, climbing its tallest peaks, plumbing the depths of its oceans, and of course humanity's history of creating and surviving strong alcoholic beverages. "This nectar reminds me of a drink from my hometown," Eric said to a group of delegates, swirling his glass. "We call it moonshine. You take one sip, and you feel it burn all the way down. Makes this feel almost gentle in comparison." The reptilian ambassador, Scalar, flicked his tongue with interest. "You speak of such drinks fondly, Ambassador Kane. How does your species endure them?" Eric grinned. "Practice. A long history of trial and error. And maybe a bit of stubbornness." The crowd chuckled, their amusement adding to the growing respect for the humans' fortitude. Krylax, observing the scene through the holofeed, clenched his mandibles. "They're turning this disaster into a triumph," he growled. "We must act now." "Overseer," Rilix ventured cautiously, "introducing another toxin or attempting a direct intervention risks exposing our intentions." Krylax's multifaceted eyes gleamed with cold determination. "Then we shift the narrative. If we cannot undermine their strength, we will redirect it into something dangerous. Their confidence may be their undoing." The Overseer leaned toward a console, activating a hidden communicator linked to a Trocian agent within the banquet hall. "Proceed with contingency plan Epsilon. Subtly encourage the humans to demonstrate their so-called tolerance in a contest. Their arrogance will do the rest." The agent, a server blending seamlessly among the banquet staff, acknowledged the order. Moments later, the server approached Eric with a tray of untouched Zolaris nectar. "Ambassador Kane," he said smoothly, "the delegates are most impressed by your resilience. Perhaps you would honor us by showcasing humanity's legendary tolerance with a small contest." Eric tilted his head, considering. "A contest?" "Yes," the server continued. "Many species here take pride in their endurance. It would be a friendly display, a celebration of our differences." Eric glanced at his team, who exchanged encouraging looks. "Why not?" he said with a grin. "A little friendly competition never hurt anyone." As the server moved to announce the challenge, Eric leaned toward Dr. Elena Vasquez. "Something feels off about this, Elena," he murmured. She nodded, her expression cautious. "Agreed. But if we back out now, it might look worse. Just keep your wits about you." "Always," Eric replied, though he couldn't shake the feeling that this contest was exactly what someone wanted. The banquet hall buzzed with excitement as the challenge was announced. Delegates from various species volunteered to participate, each bringing their unique physiology and pride to the table. The humans, of course, were the focus. As Eric took his seat at the center of the contest table, the room was alive with anticipation. Overseer Krylax watched from a corner, a faint glint of satisfaction in his eyes. "Let's see if humanity's arrogance will be its undoing," he muttered under his breath. The first round began. Glasses were filled, and the challenge was simple: drink without faltering. For Eric and his team, this was a chance to demonstrate humanity's resilience. For Krylax, it was the perfect opportunity to turn triumph into catastrophe. The banquet hall buzzed with anticipation as the contest got underway. A long table stretched across the center of the room, adorned with crystalline goblets filled with Zolaris nectar. Delegates from various species took their places, each eager to test their endurance. At the center of the table sat Ambassador Eric Kane, a calm smile on his face as he lifted his first glass. To his right was Dr. Elena Vasquez, her expression wary but determined. To his left, a hulking reptilian delegate, Scalar, flexed his claws in preparation. The room was alive with chatter and speculation, most of it centered on the humans. "Humans are peculiar," whispered a feathered alien to their companion. "How can such a fragile species drink with such confidence?" "They won't last," the companion replied. "This is Trocian wine. Even I struggle with it." Overseer Krylax stood in the shadows, watching intently. His mandibles clicked faintly as the first round began. Eric lifted his glass, his movements unhurried. He took a sip, savoring the complexity of the Zolaris nectar before setting the glass down with a satisfied smile. Around the table, other delegates followed suit, though some grimaced at the intensity of the drink. Dr. Vasquez leaned toward Eric, her voice low. "It's strong, but manageable. Think they underestimated us again." Eric smirked. "Let's make sure they keep doing that." Scalar slammed his glass down, licking his scaled lips. "Delightful," he rumbled. "But I expected more from the Traxians." The room erupted in laughter, the tension easing slightly. The humans appeared unfazed, their confidence growing with each round. Krylax's growing concern. From his vantage point, Krylax observed the humans closely. Each round seemed to embolden them, their voices growing louder, their camaraderie drawing attention from the other delegates. The very spectacle he had hoped to use against them was becoming a showcase of human resilience. "How are they doing this?" Krylax muttered to Rilix, who stood nervously by his side. "Overseer, the human's biology appears uniquely suited to handle ethanol-based intoxicants," Rilix explained. Their cultural history suggests extensive exposure to similar substances, which may have increased their natural tolerance. Krylax's antennae twitched irritably. Then escalate the challenge. Introduce the reserve batch. Rilix hesitated. The reserve nectar is highly concentrated. Even Traxians rarely consume it. Exactly, Krylax said coldly. Let's see how far their resilience truly goes. Servers returned to the table, replacing the goblets with smaller, intricately carved vessels. The Zolaris nectar in these was darker, almost black, and emitted a faint luminescent glow. A ripple of intrigue spread through the crowd. Eric eyed the new drink with curiosity. Stronger? He asked the server. Indeed, the server replied, his tone neutral. This is a rare vintage, reserved for the most formidable connoisseurs. Eric raised his glass, exchanging a glance with Elena. Here's to being formidable, he said, taking a sip. The liquid burned as it went down, but Eric barely flinched. Around the table, several delegates grimaced or coughed, a few even withdrawing from the contest entirely. Scalar, to Eric's surprise, set his glass down with a heavy sigh. I yield, he admitted, his voice begrudging. Your species has my respect, Ambassador Kane. Eric chuckled. High praise from a warrior like you. As the rounds continued, more delegates dropped out, their bodies unable to handle the potency of the nectar. The humans, however, remained steady. Eric, Elena, and their remaining team members exchanged occasional jokes, their camaraderie drawing laughter from the audience. Krylax's patience wore thin. This is impossible, he muttered. They should be incapacitated by now. Rilix shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps their resilience is not merely biological, Overseer. Humans are known for their psychological fortitude. They thrive on challenges. Krylax's mandibles twitched. Then we shall push them to their limits. The Trosien servers brought out one final round, a clear liquid in crystal vials that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. This, the announcer declared, is pure Zolaris essence, the pinnacle of Trosien craftsmanship. Only the bravest dare to consume it. Eric took the vial, examining it closely. He turned to Elena, raising an eyebrow. You in? Elena smirked. Wouldn't miss it. Together, they tipped back the vials and swallowed the essence. The crowd held its collective breath. The essence hit hard, a fiery wave that seemed to ripple through their veins. Eric felt the intensity but steadied himself, exhaling slowly. Elena followed suit, her expression calm. The crowd erupted into cheers, their admiration for the humans now undeniable. Even Krylax, hidden in the shadows, couldn't deny their resilience. Eric stood, raising his empty vial. To unity and understanding, he declared, and to the incredible hospitality of the Traxians. The delegates roared their approval, raising their own glasses in response. Krylax retreated from the chamber, his plan in ruins. The humans had not only survived, but emerged as the stars of the evening. What was meant to humiliate them had instead bolstered their reputation, proving that humanity was not to be underestimated. The banquet hall erupted into cheers as the humans stood victorious. Ambassador Eric Kane, steady despite the effects of the pure Zolaris essence, grinned as he received handshakes and congratulatory remarks from delegates of various species. The humans' resilience had not only impressed the Concord, but also solidified their position as an equal among the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Dr. Elena Vasquez leaned toward Eric, her voice low enough for only him to hear. You do realize we just turned an alien drinking contest into a diplomatic triumph, right? Eric chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. I'd say that's a pretty good day's work. In the shadows of a private chamber, Overseer Krylax paced furiously. The plot to undermine humanity had not only failed but backfired spectacularly. Instead of being humiliated, the humans had become the heroes of the evening, earning the respect and admiration of species across the Concord. Rilix approached cautiously, his mandibles clicking nervously. Overseer, the delegates are requesting your presence. They wish to commend you for the success of the event. Success. Krylax spat, his antennae quivering with anger. This was not a success, it was a catastrophe. Humanity's influence has grown stronger because of us. Rilix hesitated before replying, perhaps there is an opportunity in this. The humans have proven themselves resilient, but their confidence could make them overreach. If we guide that confidence carefully. Krylax waved him off, unwilling to entertain further schemes for the moment. Enough. Leave me. As Rilix retreated, Krylax turned his gaze to the banquet hall's hollow feed, where the humans basked in their newfound status. This isn't over, he muttered to himself. They may have won tonight, but the game is far from finished. Meanwhile, in the banquet hall, delegates from across the galaxy buzzed with conversations about humanity's performance. They have remarkable endurance, said Scalar, the reptilian warrior, to a fellow delegate. Their tolerance rivals even my kind. Another delegate, a luminous being from the Erythian collective, chimed in. It is not just their biology. They thrive under pressure. Such adaptability is intriguing. The general consensus was clear. Humanity was no longer a fledgling species to be overlooked. They were contenders on the galactic stage, and their ability to turn even a poisoned drink into a victory was a testament to their resourcefulness. Later that evening, as the banquet wound down, Eric and Elena stepped onto one of the balconies overlooking the vibrant storms of Zollner Prime. The swirling colors reflected on their faces as they leaned against the railing, taking a moment to breathe. You think they'll try something like this again? Elena asked, breaking the silence. Eric nodded slowly. Probably. But tonight we showed them something they didn't expect. And what's that? That humans don't break easily, Eric said with a smile. Even when the odds are stacked against us. Elena grinned. I think they're starting to realize that. The two watched as the last of the delegates left the banquet hall below, many of them glancing back toward the humans with a newfound respect. As the humans prepared to leave Zollner Prime, Eric couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. What had begun as a potential disaster had turned into a defining moment for humanity. They had shown not just their resilience, but their ability to adapt and thrive in the face of challenges. As the shuttle ascended into the starry expanse, Eric looked out the viewport, his thoughts racing toward the future. He knew humanity's journey in the Concorde was just beginning, and there would be more challenges ahead. But tonight, they had proven one undeniable truth: humanity would not be underestimated.